All right, teams have dropped. It is 4 p.m. on Tuesday, and you know what that means. We get a look at all 7 games. We have 3 teams on the bye this weekend, State of Origin Wednesday night, so lots to talk through, and some very interesting news as we see a big name and a big purchase player from last week not named this week on a rest, so we'll talk about that and a lot more. Let's do it.
It's time to strap in and get ready. You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Metrics, and Whisperer.
G'day guys, welcome back to the Insight NRL Show. Like I mentioned, it is Team List Tuesday. It's 4:05. We're here to talk through all of the major ins and outs ahead of NRL for round 13. We've got Origin football coming up in a little bit over 24 hours. I don't know about you, but I'm super pumped to see some Origin footy again. Obviously, a lot of implications come off the back of Origin football happening. We see a lot of the players named this week that are in Origin, which is very positive signs for us if you're a fantasy or a Supercoacher, or you're just a fan of your team and want to see these guys backing up to get the W for your club. Of course, this episode is brought to you by Game Day Squad, the perfect crossover between card collecting and fantasy sports. You can play for free, doesn't cost you a thing, and you can also win cash without spending $1. You can collect, trade, buy, and sell player cards, build a squad for yourself, and compete against your friends in the Game Day Squad community. There's over $100,000 in prizes as well, so plenty of money to win. You can sign up today. Just go to the App Store or go to gamedaysquad.com.au, create a team, and use the promo code IFSAUS to get stuck in and get your squad started. It'll get you 27 cards just to get things moving for you so you can create a squad. And the bonus is that Game Day Squad are the only exclusive State of Origin fantasy platform. So they've created a specific State of Origin tournament this year, all 3 games, over $5,000 for the winners. If you can take it out there, they'll be giving away prizes, not just every game, but who can keep it up across all 3 games of the series. So jump on in, use that code, and create a State of Origin team to take us on there too. Now let's jump into the reason that we're all here. It is Team List Tuesday, and we've got our first game Friday. No Thursday game this week to give the Origin players a little bit of extra time to back up. Thankfully, the Dragons and the Knights don't have too many guys on that short turnaround aside from Callum Ponga. So let's have a look at the teams here for the Dragons to start with. A couple of big outs. Obviously, Dylan Egan sadly out for the rest of the season. It is confirmed he's done an ACL. And we also lose Corey Allen. But the positive news for the Dragons is that we do see Christian Tuipulotu come back onto the wing after his extended absence from that injury. So good to see him back. Otherwise, Val Holmes named to back up. Clint Gutherson still up the back there. The same halves pairing for the Dragons. They're really leaning into the youth of Laiken King Tonga. So good to see him getting an extended run here. Obviously, there are a couple of different changes here. And we do see Toby Couchman coming back onto the bench here. So we see the same forward pack. Good to see Hamish Stewart still getting a run at 13 there. Luciano Leilua gets the start for Dylan Egan, which is mostly expected. And then, Jacob Little, Toby Couchman, Loco Pacifica Tonga, who was great in his debut or his first couple of games, and Blake Laurie there rounding out the bench. Now, the thing I'm looking at here is probably more so Toby Couchman and how he impacts Hamish Stewart's minutes, because we do see Jack DeBellin named in the prop rotation, and he has been playing there since Toby Couchman's been down. But Couchman coming back into that front row rotation means that Jack DeBellin might place him 13. So very close watch on Hamish Stewart's minutes. For now, he's good. But yeah, keep an eye on that. The Knights, they're looking all right. Callum Ponga, he's named to back up. But we do seem a little thin, the Knights, through the back there. Kyle McCarthy and Fletcher Hunt on the left. We don't see any Greg Marju or anything there yet. So he's still a week away as per Adam O'Brien. So we'll likely see him in round 14 for the Knights. Tyson Gamble gets the 7 with Fletcher Sharp moving back into his number 6 jersey after his awesome stint at fullback last week. Tyson Frizzell named it prop with Leo Thompson, who's back from gastro. So good to see him back as a father with 2 kids in daycare. I can tell you now, gastro not fun. Sometimes you'd rather a soft tissue injury, to be honest. Dylan Lucas gets named again. Good to see after there was question marks around what he was doing with that shoulder injury after he put that 3rd try down through that kick. So good to see him there. And Matt Croker comes in to replace Adam Elliott, who's out with a bicep tendon rupture. So Matt Croker could get some extended minutes here, depending on what happens with Jacob Saifidi and how far he is away, because I would naturally think that Tyson Frizzell probably moves back into the 13 when Jacob Saifidi is back to partner Leo Thompson in the prop rotation. Aside from that, you see the same 14 through 17 there on the bench. Jack Cogger on the extended bench there, but it looks like Tyson Gamble is the man with the 7 for now. So that is the Dragons versus the Knights. I'll be backing the Dragons in this one. I think they're just going to have a bit too much firepower. And it is at home at Oakey Jubilee Stadium. So, yeah, we'll back the Dragons on this one. Titans versus the Storm. I can tell you right now, I'm not backing the Titans in this one, sadly, even if it is at Seabus Super Stadium. All of the Storm players have been named to back up. Let's have a look at the Titans to start with, as we see a fair few ins there on their extended bench more than anything. We see Pahulu, he is out. Obviously, he's been signed by the Melbourne Storm effective immediately, so we'll probably see him as early as next week. And Tony Francis drops out. As we see Philip Sami and Jojo Fafita, Khan Pereira there in the back line. Now, the one big noticeable thing that we look at here is Jalen de Groot at fullback and AJ Brimson in the 6, Kieran Foran in the 14. Now, we might see a late swap again, maybe. I mean, hopefully, because we love AJ Brimson at the back, and I think that's probably their best lineup when you've got AJ at 1 and Foran at 6, Campbell at 7. But let's see what Des does this week. Mo Fodawaker, Regan Campbell-Gillard up front, Chris Randall and Famore in the edge, or on the edges, I should say, and Tino to back up in the 13 jersey. Foran, Jolliffe, Haas, and Alec Wenke in the 17 jersey. On the extended bench there, nothing really to write home about. Let's have a chat about the Storm, though. Ryan Pappenhausen up the back, as always. Grant Anderson at centre, but we do see Jack Howarth on the extended bench. So there's every chance we could see Jack Howarth back in this game as early as this week, with Grant Anderson likely the one to drop out unless he moves to the wing, which would probably be my decision, but I'm no Craig Bellamy, so I'm not going to pretend to know what the Supercoach does. But yeah, Farlongo named on the wing for now, so we'll keep an eye out on that. The halves are named, as always. You've got Harry Grant, Munster named to back up in this one as well, and then the same back row. Tyron Wishart, Nelson Asofa Solomona, Tui Kamikamika and Bronson Garlick named off the bench there. And Joe Chan, as I mentioned, Jack Howarth in the extended bench there. They do obviously have a larger extended bench because of the implications from Origin and the amount of Origin players they have that are backing up. So as per NRL rules, they're allowed to name, I think, an extended squad of 24 players instead of the stock standard 22 or 21, I should say, from every other week, because it is a backup Origin week. Storm to win this one comfortably, and in my opinion, the Titans just aren't anywhere near good enough here. Let's have a look at the Cowboys Tigers in the third game of the week. That's 5:30 p.m. That one's at QCB in Townsville, so home game for the Cowboys. Tough road trip for the Tigers after what they've been going through the last couple of weeks, and with Lockie Galvin moving on, we obviously don't see him named here in this team. So we see a big shake-up and definitely a left field choice from Benji Marshall in the 6. So this would likely just be for one more week, as the news is that Latu Fainu is one more week away. So we'll see him in round 14, and he would naturally slot into the halves for the Tigers. Murray Taulagi, he is out, obviously, with that calf that he did in round 11, sadly. So unfortunate for him to miss Origin, but also now we'll be missing some games for the Cowboys. But we do see Ruben Cotter named to back up in this one, along with Reece Robson. And Scotty Drinkwater up the back. We see the same back line. We see Toddy Payton leaning into Jackson Purdue at 6. Let's see how long this experiment goes for. I think you do need to give him time, personally. So, yeah, I'm all for giving Jackson Purdue some time in the halves. That is his natural position that he's grown up playing. So you've got to give him an opportunity to ease into his work there. Tom Dearden named to back up as well. Reece Robson at hooker, same edges, and Ruben Cotter at 13 there. Harrison Edwards, Kai O'Donnell, Griffin Neame, and Cohen Hess to round out the bench. Jake Clifford there on the extended bench, looking to hopefully find his way back in this team if they ever decide the Jackson Purdue experiment is over. For the Tigers, Jareem Bull is named at the back. We don't see Lockie Galvin in this team, but it is the same back line: Staines, Toa, Dewey, and Taruva. Heath Mason has been named in the 6 jersey to replace Lachlan Galvin for this week as a bit of a stopgap for Latu Fainu, who is a week away. Big Terrell May is probably going to be playing some big minutes again this week. Royce Hunt is named to start. We know there's no motor there. There's probably going to be a lot of impact to start with. Now, Samuel Fainu has been named on an edge for now, but I think there is every chance we're going to see Tony Sukar, that's the mail that I have, Tony Sukar, to come in and start on an edge, as Fainu is very unlikely to play due to the knee injury that he picked up in round 11. So, yeah, keep an eye out on that. Otherwise, no other changes. Their bench still looks it's quite strange with Brent Naden in the 14. Jack Bird, Sione Fainu and Tony Sukar likely to start on an edge, which means we might even see Kit Lally come into the team there as the 17th man on the bench to strengthen the middle. If we see anybody else other than that come onto the bench, I think there's every chance Terrell May's probably playing 80 again this week, which I'm sure he would love. Cowboys, I would be very surprised if they don't win this one by 13 plus at home with everything going on at West Tigers. Let's have a chat about Manly. This is the big news of the week. Manly coming in at $2.13 as well. That's probably off the back of Tommy Trbojevic being rested this week. So let's have a look at the implications there. They do also lose Siwa Takiaho in this one. So we do see a couple of names come back for Manly, though, which strengthens their stocks. If you purchased Lehigh Hopewadi last week, you would be cheering. Hopefully you guys jumped on the pod last week and you saw us recommend Lehigh Hopewadi as a purchase because it's played out beautifully as a nice little hedge there for Turbo. So Hopewadi at the 1, Kohler and Garrick in the centres as always, Saab, and Tommy Talau comes in on the other wing to replace Lehigh Hopewadi, who's moved to fullback. Then we obviously see the same halves pairing, DCE named to back up from Origin, Jake Simkin in the 9, Bullymore and Aloye returns back to the team here to start at prop. And then we've got Homoli and Ben Trbojevic coming back into the team on an edge, as well as Jazz Tavanga locking the scrum. He's been fantastic the last few weeks, so you can definitely do worse than Jazz. Then we see exactly the same bench as we saw last week in Croker, Waddell, Brown, and Lodge. And the extended bench does have Toff Sipley, who looks to be returning from injury. So if they get Sipley back, it'll definitely strengthen their middle a fair bit there. And I think there's every chance he probably comes onto the bench, or Ethan Bullymore would go back to the bench and we see Toff Sipley start in the 8 jersey. So let's see how that goes. Broncos, though, look fairly unchanged aside from we see Jesse Arthurs and Selwyn Cobbo swap. So Cobbo back to the wing, Jesse Arthurs, he is back at fullback for the first time this year. So interesting decision by Madge there to swap things around to see how that goes. Maybe it's a word from Billy to say, hey, can you play Cobbo on a wing? This is where we want him. And maybe they want to bring him in for Toya in game 2 potentially. And we see Val Holmes switch back to centre for Queensland. So very close watch there. Maybe Billy's getting an early look at what he gets from Cobbo in Origin 2. Otherwise, unchanged, Ezra Mam and Reynolds are steering them around the park. Paddy Carrigan and Payne Haas both named to back up from Origin, which is great news for Payne Haas. Obviously, doesn't really mean much right now. We need to see how the players get through Wednesday. But if Payne Haas gets through unscathed, we might be expecting a little less minutes, but I think there's still every chance Payne Haas is going to want to play pending how that quad pulls up. Xavier Willison named on an edge, and we see Pia Kura on the bench. So who knows how Madge is going to play this. It seems to be opponent dependent on whether he starts with Piakura or Willison, or whether he wants that extra big body to isolate a smaller edge defender. So Willison being on that left edge would be running at Homoli. So probably trying to match size for size there with that decision. And then we obviously see Ricky and Hetherington there. Walters, Jensen, Piakura, and Ben Takura coming onto the bench. So a bit of extra size on the bench this week. I think the Broncos are going to be too good for this one. We were hoping that Reece Walsh was going to be coming back, but it looks like he's had a bit of a setback from injury, that knee that he's coming back from. He did tweak it throughout the week. So they're probably just playing it safe with Reece Walsh and giving him another week to recover. But that is the Manly Sea Eagles against the Broncos. I'll back even though it is at 4 Pines Park, I'm probably going to, actually, no, I'm going to take the money. I'm going to take Sea Eagles to win this one. No Tommy Turbo, but Lehigh Hopewadi is a fantastic option. DCE being back. Broncos are in a bit of a rut. Let's see if they can take advantage at home. They're a 20% better team at home, so we'll back Manly. We've got the Rabbitohs and the Warriors at 2 p.m. on Sunday. We've got 3 games on Sunday, so a good way to spend your weekend. For the Rabbitohs, very much unchanged. Latrell Mitchell due to play after Origin. Alex Johnston and Bailey Bentley Harpe on the wings. Tass and Graham. Graham, every chance of replacing Stephen Crichton this week. So we do see him named to back up from Origin. We see Humphreys in the halves there. Jai Arrow and Keon Kolomatangi at prop, which is the big news we wanted to see. We wanted to see Keon named in the middle. It looks like Wayne Bennett is trusting Tallis Duncan with maximum minutes on the edge based on how this bench looks as well, with Hubner at lock. We see Jai Gray holding on to that 14 jersey. He's done a really good job as an impact player there, and also a utility to cover multiple positions. Sean Kepi comes back onto the bench after missing last week with Tavita Totola and Davey Moali, and that's 3 middles that are probably not going to be taking any minutes from Aitken or Duncan. So yeah, definitely one to watch there on what this bench makeup looks like. But for the most part, I'd be very surprised if we see it change looking at the extended bench. And we do see a couple of changes for the Warriors. Ali Leitao came back from injury last week, but he's back out along with Bunty Afoa. We do see James Fisher-Harris come back into this team as well, and Mitchie Barnett is named to back up for the Warriors as well. So positive there. Rocco Berry comes back into the team. He's named at centre. That means that Kurt Capewell, he shifts back to an edge with Murata Niokore. So Leka Halasima has been dropped to the bench, which is a big kick in the nuts for a lot of people that went and bought Leka over the last couple of weeks. We might see a late change. I wouldn't be surprised if we do. But if he is named on the bench, I wouldn't be panicking just yet, but it's definitely one to watch over the next couple of weeks to see whether this is what sticks. Aaron Clark has been fantastic as well. He went off the field last week with a bit of a quad niggle. We're not quite sure whether it was a cork or a cramp, but he ended up coming back on the field and finishing that game in the wet. So crisis averted short term for now, unless we hear any more. Keep an eye out on NRL Physio's channel. I'm sure he'll update us if there's any issues with Clark. The bench looks like Tamari Martin, Leka Halasima, Dimitri Varmaga, and Jackson Ford. Pretty strong bench for the Warriors there. I think the Warriors are going to be too good here for the Rabbitohs, but we know that the Warriors are definitely not as strong at home. Big in, though, getting James Fisher-Harris into this team and having Mitch Barnett back up. So, yeah, we'll back the Wars in this one to take out the Rabbitohs. We've got the next one here at 4 p.m. We've got Penrith versus the Eels, 17th versus 15th. Who would have thought? A few changes, few ins and outs, but the good thing is all of the Origin players have been named in this one for Penrith. Dylan Edwards backs up. We see Tom Jenkins, sadly, on the left wing outside Casey McLean, so you can pretty much lock him in for about 3 touches and pneumonia. Casey McLean seems to be a little bit allergic to passing the footy, sadly. But we do see Brian To'o also named to back up. Nathan Cleary also named to back up, as well as Isaiah Yeo named in the 13. Otherwise, the Panthers are unchanged for the most part from their strongest team. Luke Summerton, I should say, is the 14 off the bench. Matty Eisenhuth, Lauren Patea, and Harrison Hassett, who are really impressed last week, gets another crack there. As obviously the 24-man extended bench. We see Paul Alamotti on there as well. So there's every chance I think we could see Paul Alamotti come back onto the wing, and we might see Casey McLean drop out Jenkins to centre, or the other way around. We'll see how that plays out. But if Alamotti comes back in, he'll be coming back on the wing to partner To'o there. For the Parramatta Eels, Isaiah Iongi up the back. He's been fantastic the last few weeks, hasn't he? Zach Lomax is named to back up. Sean Russell moves to centre again after his one stint on the wing last week. Jordan Samrani also gets the other centre because Will Penasini's out with 11-day stand down from his HIA that saw him miss most of the game last week. Josh Adokar on the other wing. Mitchell Moses backing up from Origin there to partner Dylan Brown in the halves. Jack Williams and Junior Bolo doing a great job up front. They're both named to start at prop. Kelma Tuolangi and Kitiani Katoga are named on the edges, and then Jermaine Hopgood locking the scrum. Kelma Tuolangi, there is every chance he could drop to the bench again for Luca Moretti, who we also see in the 15 jersey here, which is exactly what happened last week, and Moretti was fantastic. So I think there's every chance we could see this happening again, depending on tactically what they're looking to do. And obviously Kelma opposing Scott Sorensen on that edge. We'll see what that all looks like. But Ryan Madison gets his another shot on the edge, seems to be getting a little healthier now, which is great for Matto. And Joash Papali'i gets another crack after his debut the other week in the 17 jersey. Matty Dory on the extended bench could be another guy that comes in, but I'd probably say this is how they line up for the most part. And that is the Panthers versus the Eels. It's hard to pick a winner in this one, I'll tell you that much. I'm going to back in, and I've done it again, haven't I, since last week? Yeah, tough one to pick. I'm not quite sure who I'm going to go with. I might say, is it rude to say either team under 1 to 12? I'm going to back the Panthers and Cleary to go big in this one. Eels just don't seem to be getting it together, and Panthers, as bad as their season's been on paper, they're a better team. So we'll see how that comes out. Last week's tips were in the bin, so hopefully we don't have 2 bad weeks in a row. Roosters and Raiders round out round 13. It is the 6:15 Sunday game, so we do have a late Sunday game. 11th versus 2nd. Raiders in red-hot form. Roosters with a lot of their guns back. James Tedesco up the back there. We see Robert Toya slot back in at centre to back up after Origin. Mark Nwang and Itawaze moving to the wing. The same halves pairing, Hugo Savala and Sandon Smith, both huge last week. Bit tough on Sandon Smith with DCE coming to the Roosters. but it looks like he's being shopped around. And many teams could do much worse than Sandon Smith, especially the Parramatta Eels with a vacant 6 jersey. Lindsay Collins is named up front to partner Spencer Leniu, who will back up from Origin, as will Connor Watson at 9, as will Angus Crichton. And then obviously we see Sua Wong and Victor Radley there in 12 and 13 as per the last few weeks. Zach Docker-Clay will play some hooker minutes off the bench for Keddy, Steep and Egan Butcher, I should say, to round out the bench there. Dom Young in the 18 jersey, just to say I think it's more insurance on Robert Toya to make sure that he gets through that Queensland debut okay. But aside from that, that looks like how they'll round out. Blake Steep also, big game from him last week too. For the Raiders, the only out here is Tom Starling. He's been suspended for a week, so we do see Danny Levi come onto the bench as well as Owen Paddy starting in the 9 this week. So great news for Owen Paddy to get a start there. Hopefully he does well. We see the back line is unchanged for the Raiders, as is the halves. Corey Horsburgh and Joseph Tarpany up front. Owen Paddy in the 9. Hudson Young named to back up after his New South Wales game on Wednesday night to partner Zach Hosking on the edges with Morgan Smithies, who's had elevated minutes over the last few weeks. He is in the 13 jersey locking the scrum. As I mentioned, Danny Levi in the 14. Simi Sasagi to play some edge bench cover in the 15, which means that there's every chance, I'd say, either Hudson Young gets an early spell pending how the game goes, or Zach Hosking probably looking at about 65 minutes in this one, as we've seen in previous weeks when Sasagi's been on the bench, I should say. Josh Papali and Adam Mariota there round out the bench, with the extended bench probably not doing any damage on this starting 17. So, guys, that is it. That is the TLT for round 13. We've got a big round ahead. Obviously, if you're playing in your fantasy or your Supercoach competitions, these are the weeks to make your moves. There's plenty of pods on offer, but good to see all of our Origin guys backing up. We're going to know a lot more about what this round looks like after Wednesday night. So on Thursday night this week only, we're going to be going live to talk and preview round 13 from a Supercoach perspective. So make sure you tune in. Matrix and Whisper are going to be doing the Q&A for our subscribers tonight. That'll drop on YouTube at around 9:30 p.m. So keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, guys, we will see you Thursday. Or if you missed that one, good luck this week. Hopefully we can get a better tipping week than last week. Catch ya.